Okay, this is practice set 1, paper 2H, which is calculator. There are 2 calculator papers. Each one worth 80 marks, so you're trying to get marks out of 240 in total. Right, let's look at question 1. This is the key information here, and here's some more key information. So, I like to write this as a ratio. So you have £1 is equal to 67.1 rupees. So in 2010 he changed £600 into rupees, so that's easy. That's times 600. So this would be times 600. Use your calculator. That is 40260. How many pounds did Eric have to change to rupees in 2012 to get the same number as rupees as he did in 2010? So he wants this many rupees for 2012, and the exchange rate now is £1 to 82.5. So we're looking at this. So how do we work out from here to here? Well, we just need to divide by 82.5. That equals 488. So if this way is divided by 488, then we are multiplying by 488 here. So we times 488 here to get 488 pounds, and that's done. Now Ali is planning a party. Cakes are sold in boxes. The key information is there's 12 cakes in each box. Each costs £2.50. 8 sausage rolls in each pack. They cost £1.20. You want to buy more than 60 cakes and 60 sausage rolls. You want to buy exactly the same amount. And what's the least amount of money? So that gives you the clue that you have to find the LCM with problem solving. So what's the lowest common multiple of 12 and 8, but it has to be greater than 60. So if you count up in 12s and 72, now you know that 8 goes into 72 because that's 9 times 8. Most common mistake when people do this and they get confused in the exam is they just count up in 8s or 12s incorrectly, and you can see if you just make one mistake in one section you'll struggle to find the right answer. So do be careful here. So you can see 72 is the LCM. What is the least amount of money Ali will have to pay? Well, that means he needs 6 of these boxes to get 72 cakes, and he'll need 9 to get 72 sausages, 9 boxes. So we just have to write 6 times £2.50 plus 9 times £1.20. So that's going to be £15. Add 9, add £10.80. So combined that is £25.80. And that's your answer completed. Now that's quite a nice straightforward 5 marks, so lots of method marks to be earned there. So right angled triangle, we're trying to find the length of BC. Now normally if you have an angle you'll use trigonometry, but remember you just use a squared plus b squared equals c squared for Pythagoras, and we have a and b here, and this is c, so that's going to be 9 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. That's 81 plus 36 equals c squared, and you can just use a calculator to work that out. Now it's important to do 3 significant figures because they've asked you. Now as a surd, your calculator will give you that. Press the SD button, which looks like this on your calculator, and then you will get C equals 10.8166 5383, but if you're good at rounding, that's the third significant figure, the 8, and you look next door, it's not 5 or more, so C equals 10.8. That's some easy. Question 4, scattergraphs. Read the question. What type of correlation does this scattergraph show? So it's going downhill from left to right, so if you're down, you know that's a negative correlation. Time a car takes go from 0 to 60. Estimate the maximum speed of this for this car, so you need to draw a line of best fit and use a ruler. It should go in between the points fairly equally. So 11 seconds. Do this dotted line. It's good form to do this. Sometimes that's worth a method mark on its own. And you can see that is 120 miles per hour. So they do set a tolerance between plus and minus 3. Sometimes the figure is greater, and as long as your line of best fit is decent, you'll get the full marks on that. So that's an easy 3 marks. Let's look at question 5. The town has 3 car parks. South car park has X spaces, North has 48 more, and Central has 4 times as many spaces as South car park. So let's start this off. We call this X. That means this must be X plus 48, it's 4 more spaces, and 4 times as many as South car park is 4X. Now the total number of spaces in South car park and Central car park is more than twice the number of spaces in North car park. More than twice. So 2 times the North car park is X plus 48. And this is South and Central. We've written a nice inequality here. So we get 5x is greater than, let's expand that out, 2x plus 96. Minus the smallest amount of x's from both sides. So we get 3x is greater than 96. Let's divide that by 3, divide that by 3, and then we're going to get x is greater than 32. Work out the least possible number of spaces in a South car park. Well, if x is greater than 32, then it has to be 33 spaces. That's a nice 5 marks there. So this looks like a nice algebra with shapes type question. The perimeters are the same. Measurements are in centimeters. Work out the value of x. Well, if that's a rectangle, then we know opposite sides of a rectangle are the same. So this is 4x, and that must be 3x plus 4. Work out the value of x. So let's add up all these x's first. We've got 3x, 4x, 4x, and 3x. That's 6x plus 8x. So we get 14x plus the 4 plus the 4 plus 8 equals, what do we have here? 5x add 5x is 10x, add 7x, add x equals 18x. But we have a minus 3, so that's minus 6. And minus the smallest amount of x from both sides. So we get 8 equals 4x minus 6 plus 6 plus 6 on both sides. So we get 14 equals 4x. So we know 14 over 4 equals x, which is 7 over 2, x, which equals 3.5 centimeters. Another question quite easily done. Now part 2 says write down the length and width of the rectangle. 3x plus 4, we need to sub in x equals 3.5. So that width will be 10.5 add 4, which equals 14.5. And then we've got the width as 4x. So 4 times 3.5 equals 12 equals 14 centimeters. Another few marks in your pocket. Just write that in the answer box so you get your full marks. Now let's look at question 7. Complete the tree diagram. Minor damage is 0.55. Probability of severe damage is 0.45. Insurance claims can be made. 0.22 and 0.74. So insurance claim for minor, so that will just be 0.22. So what's 1 minus 0.22? Because all probabilities equal 1, so that must be 0.78. For severe claim, that's 0.74. So that must be 0.26. That's completed for a nice 2 marks. So the insurance company uses the information in the decision tree diagram to decide whether they need to increase their charges for insurance. If the probability that the insurance claim for damage will be made is greater than 50%, the company will increase their charges for insurance. So we need to work out the tree. So if we do 0.55 times 0.22 for this branch here, and let's go severe to claim, that's 0.45 times 0.74. Use your calculator. 0.333. So you add those two together, which will equal 0.454. Times it by 100, so it turns into percentage. That's 45.4%. That's less than 50. So it's no, will not increase. And that is a communication mark right there. Make sure you write that. Right, question 8 is a straightforward simultaneous equation. So, signs for x are positive, we can cancel out the x, so we're just going to minus from here. X minus x is 0. 2y minus minus y, be careful, the double negative becomes a plus. So we get 3y equals, what's 3 minus 6? Minus 3. So let's just divide that by 3, divide both sides by 3, and you're going to get y equals minus 1. Now sub that into any equation you want, and I'm just going to sub that into here. So you're going to get x plus 2 times minus 1 equals 3. So that's going to become x minus 2 equals 3. Plus 2 on both sides, so x equals 5. Double check your answers by substitution. So let's see, when x is 5 and y is minus 1, 5 minus minus 1, that becomes a plus, that becomes 5 plus 1 equals 6, that's correct. And then 5 plus minus 2 is 3, perfect. That's question 8. Question 9. Colin gets 3/10, that's the key information. And you've got this ratio of 3:2. So the remaining share is 7 out of 10. And Emma gets, so there's 7 parts to share between 3 to 2 people. Now it might be easier just to say it's 70 parts and make 100, so Colin gets 30. Imagine it's £100, so Colin gets 30. 70 is shared between the other two, because you can do it like this, but we don't want to deal with fractions, decimals, so it's 70 parts. So Emma and Dave will share £70. So ratio, we do 3 add 2 equals 5 parts in total. We do 70 divided by 5, which equals 14. So let's write 3 to 2 times 14 times 14. So that's 28 for Dave. That's 42 for Emma. And you can see Colin's 30, add 42, add 28, does equal 100. Find an amount that's easy to share. That's Colin, Emma and Dave. So you can see Dave's share is 28 out of 100. You might want to simplify that to 14 over 50, and then 7 out of 25. And that's a nice easy 4 marks there as well. So up to here, guys, you've already got 34 marks, which is way beyond the grade 5. And let's do question 10. Hitting this will hit our grade 6, because this is worth 2 marks. Nth term of the sequence is n squared plus 4. Alex says this. So how would you do this one? Well, you just try some examples. So let's just try two squared plus 4 equals 8. Now, I'm going to show you can't do that, because it does say when n is an odd number. So just try an odd number. Just write one down so you've done a trial. So 3 squared add 4, 9 add 4 equals 13. Now that is prime. Now I can do 5 squared in my head. 25 add 4 equals 29. That's prime. But just try a few more. And an example is 11 squared. plus 4, because I know 11 squared is going to give me 121. Add 4 equals 125, which is not prime. That's your 36 marks. That's your grade 6 achieved. Now 9 squared would also work, so as long as you find a number that works, because that's going to be 81. 9 squared equals 81, plus the 4, which equals 85, and that is also not prime. So more than one solution. You should get the full marks on this, because you just keep on trying. You've got to calculate it until you get a number that's not prime. Question 11. Work out the size of angle A. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal point. Now it's not a right angled triangle. So for this question we have to use the cosine rule. Now you unfortunately have to remember it, but this is the only one you need to remember. So it's a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos A. So the big A is the angle, opposite the big A is the little a, and you're lucky that this is labelled nicely. So that's little c, little b, and it's just substitution here, which is a very simple skill. So just on your calculator, you'll just do 3.6 squared equals 2.7 squared plus 1.8 squared minus 2 times 2.7 times 1.8. Now on the calculator you just want to work out this bit separately and work out all this. So substitute all the values in, work out each side. I mean, you can cut out loads of this working out to make it simpler for you, but essentially I'm showing you I've plus 9.72 times cos A on both sides to cancel this out, because I want to deal with it with positive numbers. Now I'm going to minus the 12.96 on both sides to get to minus 2.43. So minusing that from 10.53, then dividing it out by 9.72 for both sides to get cos A on its own, and you should get cos A equals minus a quarter on your calculator, then inverse cos that answer, and you'll get that correct to 1 decimal place, and that is the correct answer. Now the area of a triangle is half AB sine C in this case, but let's look at this triangle. We can just change that to a half BC sine A, and that will still work. So that will just be 0.5 times 2.7 times 1.8 times sine 104.5. So plug that into your calculator, and the area you should get as 2.35 to 2 decimal places. So you can just say it's 2.4 centimeters squared to 1 dp like it's asked. And the method is important to get your M1 mark, and that's your answer mark. It's not worth losing it just in case you make a mistake on your calculator. So that's 41 marks now, 5 from A7. Now let's look at this question. So this looks like a bounds question. We have D to 3 significant figures and F to 1 decimal place. By considering bounds, work out the value of C to a suitable degree of accuracy. You must show all of your working and give a reason for your final answer. Okay, so we want to find the upper bound of C. So the C upper bound is going to be the upper bound divided by F, its lower bound. And the C lower bound, so we want to get the number as small as possible, is going to be the lower bound of D divided by the biggest number that F could be, so divided by the upper bound of F. So upper bound of D, 3 significant figures, so let's look at that. That is a units number, so that's to the nearest one. So that's 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. So we plus or minus that from D to get the upper bound of D, which must be 190.5. The lower bound of D, 189.5. 1 decimal place, 0.1 divided by 2 is going to be 0.05, plus or minus that from F to get F upper bound. So F upper bound 25.75 and F lower bound 25.65. So let's work out C upper bound. Just substitute those figures in. So once we've substituted those answers in, you can see they both round to 7.4, which is a suitable degree of accuracy. Now, important note, you will score 0 marks without the method here. And these are easy marks to pick up. Even if you make a mistake at the end, you should ace this. And how many marks is this worth? 5 marks. So with all that method and 7.5, you've hit your 46 marks now. You've got your grade 7. So this is a density mass volume question. Now you just need to remember this triangle. Now I remember it by saying David married, so that's David Beckham married Victoria Beckham. So we need to work out the density of liquid C. So we have the density of liquid A, that's the mass, and we have the mass of liquid B. So the volume of A is going to be the mass of A divided by its density. The volume of B equals 128 divided by 1.6, and that will give us a start, because to work out the density of C we're going to need the mass and the volume of the liquids combined. So the mass combined is just adding those together, 140 grams of A, add 128 grams of B. So that's going to give us a mass of 268 grams. Now we just work out these figures here to find the volume. So we've plugged this into the calculator to get the volume of A, 200, and the volume of B, 80, and they've been combined together to make liquid C. So we just do 200 add 80, that's 280 for the volume. A plus B combined. We've got the mass here, So density of C is going to be 268 divided by 280. Put that into your calculator. Get 0.957 to 3 decimal places. So the density is 0.957 grams per centimeters cubed, which if you estimate that answer, that looks correct because the density has to be in between these two answers, and you've got another 4 marks, so we're now on 50. Question 14 is functions. So this is quite straightforward. F is a function f of x equals 2x plus 5. So f3 just means we substitute. Can you see the 3 is swapped with the x? So we just substitute 3 for x here. That's 2 times 3 plus 5 equals 11. An easy 1 mark for a question towards the end. Now the inverse function in the form of f of x to the minus 1, well, what we do right is f of x, we start with this, 2x plus 5. So if it's the inverse, so essentially we just get x equals 2y plus 5, and we rearrange that so to make y the subject, so we minus 5 on both sides, so x minus 5 equals 2y, and divided by 2, divide by 2, so that becomes x minus 5 divided by 2. That's the inverse function. This is exactly the same. So all we have is substitute that value in. Now x minus 25, that becomes 9 minus 25, which is minus 16. Nice easy 1 mark there. Now f of x on this part, remember from the start, equals 2x plus 5. And when you get something like this, it just says, just essentially do g of f of x. So you substitute what f of x is into g. Now g is x squared minus 25. So we just substitute 2x plus 5 into g, essentially, to do this. So that's going to be 2x plus 5 all squared minus 25, and it might help you expand that if you do this. And I know that answer is 4x squared plus 20x plus 25. So gf of x is going to be, because we need to minus that 25, 4x squared plus 20x plus 25 minus the 25. Those cancel, so you get left with a final answer of fx squared plus 20x. Perfect. And this is a big 5 mark question, so just solve for g of x equals 0. So all you do is set that to 0, equals 4x squared plus 20x. Can we factorise that? Yes. Take a 4 and x out. That's going to be x plus 5. To make the 0, this term has to be 0. And this term has to be 0, the bracket. So that gives us x equals 0 and x equals minus 5, because 0 times anything is 0. And that's another 5 marks in total. Now that brings us up to 50 marks. $55 marks, I'm sorry. So we are only 1 mark from an 8. Probability trees, this is a nice one because it doesn't involve algebra. Some of the more difficult questions like this involve algebra, but if you know what you're doing, not too bad either. So there's 20 sweets in a bag, 5 are orange, 7 are red, 8 are yellow. Takes 2 sweets from the bag. What is the probability that the sweets will not be the same colour? So that's orange. That is 5 out of 20. Red, 7 out of 20. And yellow, 8 out of 20. Now remember, he takes 2 out together, so there's 1 less in the bag after the first pick. So this is the second pick. So if he picks orange first, orange again, there'll be 1 less orange. That's going to be 4 out of 19. There's still 7 reds, so that's 7 out of 19. And there's still 8 yellows, that's 8 out of 19. Orange here will be 5 out of 19. Red, because he's taken the red, 6 out of 19. And yellow, 8 out of 19. So orange is going to be 5 out of 19 here. Yellow is going to be, oh, that's red, sorry, is going to be 7 out of 19. And yellow again is going to be 7 out of 19 as a probability. Check that they all equal 1 for each branch. They do. The sweets will not be the same colour. Well, you can multiply here, but it's easier if they're not the same colour. Let's just work out these ones. I'm going to do this way. So the same colour is 5 over 20 times 4 over 19 equals 20 over 380. So red here is, so that's the probability of O and O, orange and orange. Probability of red and red is 720 times 6 over 19, which is 42 over 380. And yellow is 8 over 20 times 7 over 19, which is 56 over 380. Now all probabilities equal 1, so we add all those up. We're going to get 20 add 42 add 56 divided by 380. That is 98 plus 20, so that's 118 over 380 of the same colour. So 1 minus this must be different colours, so that is 262 over 380, and that should be acceptable as an answer, but you can simplify that on your calculator, or just divide that answer by 2 and that will give you another 4 marks. 59 marks, guys. You've got your grade 8. So you can see it is possible, even if you make a few mistakes. Now inverse proportion or proportion does come up a lot, so make sure you get this down because it's guaranteed marks. That's how you push for your grade 8 and grade 9, or even if you're going from grade 4 to 6, whatever you're going for, it's not too difficult once you get the hang of it. So to get a mark, you say P is equal to the inverse, so we know K is a constant of proportion, to x squared, or equally you can do that symbol that makes you look professional. So given that x equals 5 when p equals 6, find the value of p when x equals 8. Once you've written this down, it's just substitution, which is a grade 2 to 3 skill, and you're hitting big marks. Right, so let's substitute that in. So when p equals 6 equals k over 5 squared, so that's 6 equals k over 25. We're going to times both sides by 25, so that is 150 equals k. So we rewrite that formula down as p equals 150 over x squared. We're trying to find the value of p when x equals 8, so p is going to equal 1 over 50 over 8 squared. Use your calculator to get the answer of 2.34, and let's see how many marks this is worth. That's another 3 marks, so we are now on 62 marks. So close to your grade 9. Question 17. So there's 2 flower beds. One larger rectangle is going to be 3 times the dimensions of the smaller rectangle. So let's say that's the larger, that's a flower bed because it's got volume. That's a smaller one because you can see there's a weight here, and he's going to use the same depth of soil in each flower bed. So volume is going to be related to weight in this instance. So if the scale factor, the length scale factor is times 3, and he's going to use 180 kilos in that flower bed, so volume scale factor equals the length scale factor cubed, which is 27 in this instance. Now this question is kind of cheeky because this same depth thing that I've worked changes the question, because this is going to stay the same, this depth, this x, but the length of it is going to be times 3 and the width of it is going to be times 3. So essentially this is the common error that students will make. We just need to square the 3, because you can see the size has only changed by multiplied by 3 the length and multiply 3 the width. So this is how this question could throw you off. So all you need to do is 9 times 180, which is 900, add 720 equals 1620 kilograms. So to work out an estimate for the median speed, we're actually going to need to find the frequency so that we can find the median. So if frequency density equals the frequency divided by the class width, then if we times both sides by the class width, we'll get the frequency. Now as this is an estimate, we can say that bar is worth 1 as a width. So 1, this is going to be 1 times 7.6. This is going to be 7.6 here. Now we've got 1, 2, 3 here as the width. And I'm actually sure if you used 7.5 instead and did the frequencies, you would still get the same answer because it's estimate of the median. Because if you did that, the medians, the frequencies will be all relatively increased and the median will still be the same. So this is going to be 3 times 9.4. This is going to be 2 times 5.6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. That's 6 times 1.2. Let's work that all those out. So this is going to be 28.2, 11.2 and 6 times, correction here, that's going to be 6 times 1.4 equals 8.4. So we need to add all those together. 7.6, add 28.2, add 11.2, add 8.4 to get the frequency, which is the total number of cars. So that's going to make 55.4 cars. I know that doesn't make sense because a car should be a whole number, but this is only an estimate. So if we do 55.4 divided by 2, we will get 27.7. That's the median car. So that's 7.6, add 9.4, the median car, 0.7th car must be somewhere in here, because that's 7.6, add 28.2, so let's do 28.2 minus 7.6 to get 20.6. So the car's going to be in here somewhere. So that equals 2.13. So that's 1, 2. 2.13 is somewhere here, from here to here. So that's going to be 60.2 to 60.4 kilometers per hour. And let's just say that's 60.3 kilometers per hour, which I think is what the mark scheme says. Right guys, this is the final question, and I've definitely messed up the total mark somewhere as I was adding up as I went along, so those aren't very accurate. We'll go through the paper again at the end of this to see how achievable grade 7 is for you. So we've got a circle. Now we know this formula, equation of a circle, we need to know that. I've just drawn this circle here and it touches a circle at the point minus 3, 6, which is here. The line L crosses the x-axis at the point P, and we're working out the coordinate P here. So first step is we need because we've got the radius here. Now we know this height is 6 and that's 3, so the gradient m equals 6 divided by minus 3, which equals minus 2. So the equation of this line here, that is a perpendicular line. So we know m1 times m2 equals minus 1. So minus 2 times what is going to give us minus 1, and that is a half. So the equation of this line is y equals a half x plus c. We don't know what c is, so we sub in the point on the line, minus 3, 6. So we get 6 equals 0.5 times minus 3 plus c. So that is 6 equals minus 1.5 plus c. We're going to plus 1.5 on both sides. So get c equals 7.5. So the equation of the line is y equals a half x plus 7.5. So now it crosses the x-axis at this point. This is the x-axis, so we need to find p. That's not p, didn't read the question carefully. So that happens when y equals 0. Crosses the x-axis. So let's write 0 equals a half x plus 7.5. We know x is going to be a negative here from the picture, so diagram does help. We're going to minus 7.5 on both sides, so we're going to get minus 7.5 equals, instead of a half x, I'm going to say x over 2. I'm going to times both sides by 2, so x equals minus 15. So that coordinate is minus 15, 0 for p. Well done, guys. Right, I hope that was helpful to you guys. But I'm just going through the counting of marks again because I definitely made a mistake early on in the video. So that's 3 marks up to here. Question 1, that should be straightforward. Question 2, that's another 5 marks. That takes us to 8. Another 3 takes us to 11. Another 3 takes us to 14. Another 5 takes us to 19. That is your grade 4 achieved. Another 6 here, which is all doable, takes us to 25. And that gives us another 6, which is a comfortable grade 5, 31. And getting close to grade 6. That's 34 marks for this. That's 38, your grade 6 is achieved. Happy days. Just to show you it is doable, you can learn how to do these questions. Question 10 is 40, up to question 10 perfect is 40, see very close to 7. Question 11 is 5, that's 45, close to grade 7. And so yeah, so 46 marks is a grade 7. Now that's 45, add the 5, that's 50 marks. That's a very comfortable grade 7. Up to question 13 you'll get 54 marks, really close to an 8. 63 is a comfortable 8, close to a 9. So 8 last year was 56 marks. 67 is a grade 9, and 70 is just going to really secure you a good mark, because you can drop marks in other papers. But you can see a lot of these questions you can do, so you can get 60 plus, which will be a grade 8, even if you just can't do a few of them. That takes us to 72. Now this one was a tricky question. I didn't think that question was too fair. It's quite a challenging one. That's 76, and the final one 80. Hopefully that helps you guys, and you can see how straightforward it is for you to get a 4 or 5. Definitely master the first half of the paper. Your grade 6 is guaranteed. Do a few of the harder questions at your grade 7, and if you can do a lot of it, that's your grade 8 or 9. Thanks.